Hey guys, I'm Mila Clark Buckley, the Hangry Woman, and today we're going to be talking about blood sugar values and what they mean. If you didn't know, I was misdiagnosed with type 2 diabetes and I have a form of type 1 diabetes called LADA, or latent autoimmune diabetes in adults. It's a slow progressing form of type 1 diabetes. It's really important for people with diabetes to be conscious of their blood sugar levels, and so there are a few different blood sugar values and samples that you can take as someone with diabetes that really helps you to understand your blood sugar patterns and how different foods and different activities impact your blood sugar. If you haven't caught it before, I have done a 40 things that affect your blood sugar video that I'll leave up here for you. I have also done many blog posts and many videos. I have a series on my channel called Can You Eat That? Or Can I Eat That? And it's kind of a funny rhetorical question that I feel like gets asked all the time. And so I decided to make videos about the things that people think that people with diabetes can't eat, so you can explore that as well. But these different values that we're going to talk about today are just things that will help you in your diabetes management, kind of understand more about your patterns. Before we get started, of course, I am not your doctor. I am not your healthcare provider. So what I'm sharing is just from my own perspective and my own experience. Hopefully it helps you, but if you want medical advice, obviously seek medical advice from a medical professional. But with that, let's get started. All right, so the first value we're gonna talk about is fasting blood sugar. Fasting blood sugar is a value that's taken after a patient has fasted or not eaten for about 8 hours. So typically when you take a fasting glucose test, that's really gonna tell you like what's happening in your body at the basic level without any food, without anything impacting your blood sugar overall. You might have a fasting test at your doctor's when you go in to take your blood work. They'll also ask you if you've been fasting, because that kind of helps determine like, okay, is this a like normally elevated level for somebody who has eaten or ingested any food, or is this like baseline, there's nothing in the system? So fasting is kind of just the kind of like bare bones, like here you are right here on this level. This is with like barely anything affecting your blood sugar, at least not food or beverages. The second value that you might hear is your postprandial, or 2 hours after your meal. So postprandial values are a direct indication of how what you ate or what you ingested affects your blood sugar. So people try to stay, I forgot to mention this for fasting. For fasting, you usually want to be anywhere from 70 to 100 when you have diabetes. People who don't have diabetes are typically 70, 75-ish, like pretty normal level. If you're above 100, you should really talk to your doctor about your fasting levels and what might be happening overnight. There's like tons of things that can affect your blood sugar overnight, from how long ago you ate to if that food has digested, to things like Somali effect and dawn phenomenon. Those are just like a few things that can also affect those fasting levels that have nothing to do with food. So it's really important that if you're taking your levels in the morning after you've slept and you haven't eaten anything for that kind of like 8-hour period, but you notice you still have elevated levels, that you talk to your doctor about what's happening there. I used to have a lot of trouble with my fasting glucose, and now that I started taking Ozempic, which I have another video on how to inject Ozempic, it's been a different experience for me, and I am not seeing nearly as many highs as I did before. I'm also trying to eat a little bit earlier. It's really hard because I stop working at like 8:30 p.m. and then I have to cook dinner and then eat it, and it's usually pretty late, almost right before bed. So I'm working on those things to get fasting values kind of like in better ranges, but it's been really good for me. I've been seeing anywhere from like 80 to 110. So it's a huge improvement from waking up in the 200s in the morning. Now back to postprandial, because I went back a little bit to fasting. On to postprandial. Postprandial, like I said, is that 2 hour after you eat value that's going to show you how food has affected your blood glucose in those 2 hours. You can tell a lot from your postprandial glucose. Normal postprandial is anywhere from 70 to 180. If you spike over 180, typically that means that you've had too many carbs, usually too many carbs or sugar. And so it's a good indication that you probably need to tweak some things in your mealtime. It could be portions. Maybe you're eating too high of a portion of carbs. Maybe you're not eating a balance enough of protein, fat, and carbs. So you really kind of have to find that sweet spot and that sweet balance. Whenever I do my Can I Eat That videos, I'm testing my postprandial blood sugars. So you'll see me eat something, I'll test it like right then so that you can see that like baseline number, and then 2 hours later I'll test, and that will tell me whether or not I can eat a food or what I need to do next time to be able to stay in range and kind of get my blood sugars in that better spot. Another value that you might hear, especially if you wear a constant glucose monitor like I do, I have my Freestyle Libre here. Another value you might hear is time in range. And so time in range is a really great metric because unlike A1C, which is your 3-month average of blood glucose, which I am not good at math, but if you know anything about math and you think about averages, if you have a 70 blood sugar and then you have a 300 blood sugar, that average is just gonna meet you right in the middle. So you're gonna get the average of those two numbers, and that's really not gonna tell you how you did everywhere else, whereas time in range can give you a good kind of indication that your blood sugars have been pretty stable. So time in range is typically the percentage of time that you're in the range that you set, which some people set it anywhere from like 70 to 150. I set mine from 70 to 180. I can actually kind of get away with like 65. I don't feel too low at 65. It is lower than you should be. You should be at 70, but I don't usually feel too bad until I'm below 65. So I set mine to 70 knowing that I'll probably dip a little bit, and it's a good early warning sign for me. But that time in range number is so great because you can really show your improvement over time. You can show that, you know, I was in range 90% of the time. I had 4% highs and 6% lows, and it just gives you like a better breakdown overall of how your blood sugars are doing. I personally think it's a better measure than A1C. My endo and I will always talk about time in range first. We talk about A1C as well because we're still trying to get it to dip back down for me after I was diagnosed with LADA, and we're like figuring out the right combination of treatment and medications and the things that I should be doing. But time in range is really cool, and it's one that we talk about and kind of like set a goal for. I actually kind of think it's nice. Maybe it means my doctor doesn't have that much faith in me, but my doctor wants my time in range at anywhere from 75 to 80%, and he feels like if I have highs or lows, it's okay. There's that margin for error, but I don't have to aim for like perfection, and that makes me feel good too because it means that I don't have to do as much hard work to maintain like an A average, you know? So I think time in range is a great measure. And if you are not on a CGM, it's kind of hard to find that time in range because you're not having your blood glucose monitored all the time, but you can get your average glucose, which will tell you how you're doing. And I have an A1C calculator on hangrywoman.com. If you know your average glucose, you can plug it in to get kind of an estimated, like mathematically estimated A1C that can kind of tell you potentially where you are. It's not foolproof because of course you would have to have exact numbers to make it be like 100% correct, but it does put you in the range. So that's a cool tool that you can use to find out if you're looking for it. So why do we measure our blood sugars in the first place? Because it's going to tell you a lot about your overall health. When you have diabetes, your blood sugar is absolutely everything. Your blood sugars are going to tell you how you're doing, how you're progressing, what your body is doing, and because you are functioning as your own pancreas in a sense, it's really important to just know where you stand and where you are, and that's going to tell you a ton about your overall health and tell you how you're managing and kind of like how you're doing just overall and how you're managing diabetes. So when your doctor tells you to test, it's really important to test. I know that access to CGMs is difficult for some people. I know that sometimes you're only given one test strip a day to be able to test your blood sugar because of insurance or because of affordability, and all of those things are so I mean, like, those barriers should not exist for people with diabetes. So let's talk about that first. But if you are in that position where maybe you can't get a CGM, so you do have to do finger sticks, but you're only given 1 strip a day, my advice would be to kind of rotate your strips. So if you know that your fasting blood sugars are doing pretty well, use that strip the next time you test a postprandial. Try a breakfast, try one after breakfast, try one after lunch, try one after dinner, try one, you know, when you're doing a fasting reading. So switch it up, because you can use that 1 strip that you have per day efficiently over a few days and get a better picture than just taking the one same fasting blood glucose and not really learning anything different than what you already know. So that was something that I liked to do when I was pretty limited on test strips. I like I said, have CGM now, but when I did have that limit, the best thing that I could possibly do literally was just to rotate my strips and use them in different ways and then log those numbers. And then I was able to tell my doctor, like, oh, this, you know, 2 hours after is like looking really weird for me. Here's how many times I did it. Here's what I tried. And just have a better conversation overall with my healthcare team about my progress. So that's it, guys. I hope this video today was helpful to you. I love talking about numbers and what they mean, and I recognize that you aren't always taught like what these numbers are. Like sometimes your doctor will just say, here you go, test in the morning when you wake up, and they don't really tell you why or what it means or what it's for. So having that better understanding overall of why you're doing something will give you the motivation to do it, because there's a little bit of extra context behind it. So hopefully this provided you with that context if you ever had that question. But I really appreciate you guys watching. Like I said before, make sure you like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Turn on the notification bell. I try to publish a video every couple of days so that there's new content all the time. YouTube is new to me, so this is topics I talk about all the time on my blog. I'm just doing them as like a chit chat now. So hopefully you're liking that, and I really like doing it. So I'm glad that you guys are watching. All right, guys, take care of yourselves, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.